Greetings, brothers. Welcome to this week's Tactics video. There's so much information coming out about 10th edition. We're going to have a mini playlist on the channel where you can catch up with everything if you've not been paying attention, or you can just tune in every Friday to catch our weekly Tactics video. Today we're going to talk about leaders and weapon changes. There's quite a lot, so let's dive on in. So leaders, weapon changes is the agenda for today, and if we're just meeting, then I am John, the Blood Angels Commander, and every week on this channel we do various videos to help you become a better player at Warhammer 40,000 in general, and primarily our focus here is Blood Angels. So if that's something you're interested in, please consider liking, subscribing, or maybe share this video with a friend. Alright, let's get straight into the content. So, what's new about leaders in 10th edition? Well, leaders are now going to join squads. They basically just said that in 9th edition there was far too many auras that could be handed out, like rerolls all over the place, and what that would mean is you'd get overbuffed super units. So rather than doing that, in most cases, because they made a caveat that they said some things will still have auras, but for most cases leaders will now join your squads. So take the Primaris Lieutenant, for example, and there is various versions of a Primaris Lieutenant. I think you could take whichever one you want. The one that is best, I think, is the one with the Storm Shield and the Neo Volkite pistol. Anyways, the first thing you'll notice is he has a leader ability, which unlocks the ability to join a squad. This can be done at deployment, same time as you're putting units into transports or reserve, and then he becomes a permanent member of the squad for the entire battle. In this case, by becoming a member of the squad, he's going to give tactical precision. So while he's leading the unit, you get the lethal hits ability, and we'll cover that in the next slide. And he's also going to get target priority, which basically means that this unit is now eligible to shoot and declare a charge after it has fallen back. So that's kind of huge for Blood Angels. Typically, there's no way for us to get units to fall back and charge, and being able to fall back and charging is what potentially gives us +2 attacks. Who knows what's going to change, but we are a lot better once we've actually charged. If we get stuck in combat, we lose a lot. So who knows exactly what's going to change there for Blood Angels in 10th, but fall back and charge here sounds really attractive. So what's lethal hits? Well, lethal hits is basically going to be an ability that will basically is a core ability that basically lets you do critical hits. So on unmodified unmodified hit rolls of 6, you're going to automatically wound the target. Now there's a bunch of these, and these are these new like lethal hits, sustained hits, devastating wounds. All these sort of things are going to essentially be game-wide rather than army-wide, and I for one think this is a great change, because if they make these things game-wide rather than army-wide, these can be balanced, right? Like if, for example, let's just say lethal hits is becoming too strong, too many armies are using it, that's something they could change, like game-wide. They could modify lethal hits and help potentially like balance that. But because lots of individual armies at the moment, you know, certain armies have 6s burst, certain armies have 6s do auto wounds, certain armies have 6s do mortals. I mean, there's too many variables, so this is hopefully a good change. And once we've played 10th for a little while, we're going to learn these special rules, and you'll be able to say, oh, this unit has lethal hits, and you'll be like, oh cool, I know lethal hits because I use it in my army, or I've used it in this army. And hopefully that sort of return of universal special rules is going to help them balance the game, and it's going to be pretty cool. So each leader has a short unit of units that they can lead, and in this case a Primaris Lieutenant can lead Assault Intercessors, Blade Guard, which I think is going to be great for Blood Angels, because Blade Guard are a unit you definitely want to fall back and charge again with, Hellblasters, Intercessors, and 2 reacted units. And what reacted means is these are new units probably that they haven't announced yet, or something like that. Maybe it's maybe one of the units could be Desolation Marines, who knows. But anyway, the Primaris Lieutenant can join a bunch of different units, and I guess all these models that are leaders are going to have a list of units that they can join. Most of the time only one leader can join a unit, but they did say that like lieutenants are essentially like a low ranked support leader, and maybe that means that they can join a model or a unit that's basically already got, like in this case, a captain or chapter master for Marines, But I guess this would mean, like, in Sisters of Battle, for example, like a low-ranking unit can join something more exciting. So basically, some units have the potential to be quite powerful if they're led by 2 models, but you're never going to have like a whole army buffed by giant numbers of auras, which I think will hopefully help things. It will mean that in some games there's going to be huge emphasis on special units. You know, if you've got a unit that's got 2 leaders leading it, then that unit is going to be very key, and you're going to have to protect that unit, and you're going to have to use it super wisely. So it does create some new dynamics within the game. And overall, I think the leaders sounds pretty good. I do agree with Games Workshop. They said there was too many rerolls in the current edition. I do think that when you get to the state that we've been in with some armies, like full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound, then it doesn't really matter like ballistic skill and weapon skill and modifiers, because it's just too much weight of dice. So I can understand this change, and hopefully it's going to help balance the whole game. That's my hope. They did say lone operatives is going to basically be a new thing. I mean, we've got lone operatives as it stands, but lone operatives is going to actually basically also be an ability, which means that the lone operative cannot be targeted by ranged attacks unless the attacker is within 12 inches. I'm not sure how sniper rifles are going to deal with that. Maybe they're going to be an exception to the rule. They didn't quite say. But it means that units like an assassin, or they mentioned Commander Shadowsung specifically, who knows exactly what the full list of lone operatives may be. They also mentioned Iron Father Ferrous as a lone operative, but if he's near an allied vehicle, or Lionel Johnson is a lone operative, but if he's near an Adeptus Astartes infantry, they can then maybe get the lone operative ability. So there's like a condition on them having that keyword or ability, and when they get that ability, then they can't be targeted by ranged attacks within 12. So again, I guess this is a way to bring characters that are not part of squads, have them be protected in some ways from squads, but also have them be protected from just getting, like, you know, someone just shoots them with a las cannon from 40 inches away and they're game over. So these types of characters may have auras. And I think it's cool to still have some auras. Like, if you had one character in your army that has an aura as opposed to like loads of auras, I think this is going to be good. Overall, we've only seen a small snapshot of this. As I say, Games Workshop are releasing more content all the time about 10th edition, so we'll continue to cover it. Let me know if you like the change of leaders or lone operatives in the video description, and if you have anything to say, or if you think I've missed anything, please just shout out and we'll have a good little chat down below, and we'll see if we can't come up with some interesting ideas. And there's going to be so many interesting tactical ideas, I think, going into 10th edition, and I'm going to be here every step of the way making tactics videos, as we always do on the BAC channel. Alright, let's move on to flexible weapons, and this is what's really interesting. So up until now, weapons were always like categorized heavy, rapid fire, assault, and so on. However, now some weapons can basically have multiple categories, meaning that there's different ways you can use the same weapon. They used intercessors as the example here. Intercessors used to have bolt rifles, auto bolt rifles, and stalker bolt rifles, and the instructions for building these models didn't say what the 3 little bits were that you attach to the bolt rifle for which variant. So people built them however they wanted to build them. I know I just built them with what looked cool, only to discover, hey, you've built all your guys with auto bolt rifles. Is that what you meant to do? So that's all gone, right? And like, we just saw some stuff about combi weapons this week. So combi weapons may actually be in a similar state where some of the rules for combi weapons are gone and simplified. And so I think it's good that weapons are now flexible. Let's look at a bolt rifle. Let's see what's changed. So a bolt rifle is 2 attacks, BS3 plus, strength 4 minus 1, 1. So it's basically almost what the old standard bolt rifle was, right? The old bolt rifle was like a 30-inch, but it was rapid fire 1, so it was like 2 shots at 18. So it's just unified, 24 inches, 2 shots. Strength 4, minus 1, 1 damage. Weapons with assault in their profile are known as assault weapons. If a unit that advances this turn contains any models with assault weapons is still eligible to shoot this turn's shooting phase when Such a unit is selected to shoot. You only resolve attacks using assault weapons its models are equipped with, right? There's no mention of -1 to hit there, which I thought was interesting. So assault weapons maybe just means you can advance and shoot. The other one was the heavy profile. So you can choose here with your intercessor. So it sounds like you can move and shoot, you can advance and shoot, or you can stand still. And if you stand still with your heavy weapon, each time attack is made with this weapon, if the attack's model remains stationary this turn, you add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So you get to hit on 2s if you stand still. I don't know how combat doctrines are going to play into that. And that's going to be interesting. Combat doctrines may actually be gone here. We may not have doctrines as Marines anymore. This seems like it might be a little bit too easy to manipulate with doctrines. Anyway, that's what a flexible weapon will look like. I'm not sure how many weapons are going to be flexible, but we did see a bolt pistol a few weeks back, which was strength 401. The standard sort of one-shot 12-inch. So the bolt pistol still looks pretty rubbish. I guess the intercessors' guns have got a lot better. Time will tell what happens for the incursors and infiltrators. And incursors or infiltrators they've kind of been the standout for troop choices for Marines in 9th edition. So who knows if they're still going to be the standout for 10th. But I guess this profile or this change makes regular intercessors seem quite a bit better, I think. So standing still, 2 shots, 24 inches, hitting on 2s, or advancing, 2 shots, hitting on 3s, 24 inches. And advancing with intercessors is quite good. They can be quite quick if you can advance and shoot. A lot of people like them with the Autobolt rifles, and I guess comparing to them to the old Autobolt rifles, you've got an additional point of AP, but you've got 1 less shot, which probably is going to average out pretty similar. Okay, Devastating Wounds is the next weapon keyword or rule, I guess, if you want to call it. Or I think they're calling them core abilities. So Devastating Wounds is basically when you do a wound roll unmodified right of 6, you're going to do mortal wounds. So if we look at the assault cannon lost a point of AP. It used to be -1. You've lost that. Still 6. Still 24 inches. Still BS3. It's still 1 damage, which is hiding behind my head. But now, anytime you roll for a wound, unmodified 6 is going to be mortal wounds. This could be really interesting, I suppose, for Bile Predators. Bile Predators obviously using twin-linked assault cannons. That's quite a nice potential chance there to do some mortals. Might be interesting to see what Gladiator Reapers do as well with that. Anyway, Devastating Wounds is the next one. The new Terminators look so cool, don't they? The assault cannon just looks so much more chunky or whatever you want to call it. I'm excited to see these new Terminators, and I really like the look of Librarian, and we'll be doing a video on the Terminator Librarian in due time. They also then said the age of plasma is over, and I haven't yet covered all vehicles on this channel, but there will be a video on vehicles. There's going to be a video on everything to do with 10th edition, and we know that like Rhinos are up to toughness 9, Storm Speeders are up to toughness 9, Gladiators are up to toughness 10, Repulsors are up to toughness 12. So they've said almost all weapons have their core statistics change, especially those who are designed to tackle vehicles. So if you look at the Melta rifle over here, you'll notice the Melta rifle actually lost 4 inches of range, which makes me wonder if the multi-Melta is also going to have lost 4 inches of range. Not sure. But it did gain 1 strength, and it does do... This Melta 2 means if it's within half range, it's D6 plus 2. Same as it was before, just slightly differently worded. Okay. So what this means in practice is small arms will not work against enemy armor. They'll work against infantry, but they're just not going to work against armor. So I guess, like, if you think of, like, anything that's going to be strength 6 is now going to wound impulsors only on 6s. I imagine Land Raiders are going to be toughness 12 as well, because they have the same toughness right now as Land Raiders. In Land Raiders are the same toughness as Repulsor, they're both 8. So the Melta rifle went up to strength 9, which means it would wound Rhinos and Storm Speeders on 4s, would only wound Gladiators on 5s, would only wound Repulsors or Land Raiders on 5s. So Gladiators are in a good spot. The Melta rifle obviously gained a point of strength. but it is shorter range, which might be a problem. It makes me think, looking at this, will attack bikes become meta again? Because a lot of people like attack bikes, multi-melters are good, they're very similar in cost to Eradicators, just 5 points more expensive, and yeah, I mean, with more wounds, the same strength, the extra movement, the no minus to shoot heavy. There is no mention, though, here if there's a minus to shoot heavy for infantry. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. They also mentioned that the railgun is going to soar to strength 20, but then even at strength 20, you're not going to wound repulsors. I'm so used to saying impulsors because nobody runs repulsors. But now repulsors could, especially like a strength 20 weapon, is only going to wound them on 3s. And then I noted that melter rifles have lost 6 inches in range. So there's a lot of changes to weapons. There's a lot of changes to vehicles, and we're going to do a video on vehicles, cover it all. Sustained hits, and this is another like core ability here, and that basically means unmodified hit rolls of 6 is going to basically burst an additional hit, right? So if it's sustained 1, then an unmodified roll of 6 is going to burst an additional hit. And if we look at the weapon that's here, it's the shuriken cannon. And if we remember shuriken, usually they would be like when you roll a 6, they become -3 AP, and they become a real nightmare for Marines. And with all the rerolls from all the Elder Psychic, it could very quickly be like you need to take 11 saves at -3, which becomes broken. Shuriken is going to ignore cover, but then also have sustained hits 1, and this is what I was saying about balance. They can now balance stuff much better with these universal special rules. So who knows what else might have sustained hits. All they've shown at the moment is the shuriken cannon. I think the point to remember is any army could have weapons that do sustained hits or devastating wounds or what was the other one? Lethal hits. You know, these things can be handed out not to just one specific army, to all the different armies in the game, and hopefully it'll be used as a balancing tool by GW to make things better. They said that sustained hits is usually for armies that throw out massive amounts of firepower. So Tyranids, I mean, maybe Tau will see them, maybe Votan will see sustained hits. I guess we'll find out. And then they also said Twin Linked is back. And Twin Linked, interestingly, is both melee and ranged. So a unit that's got twin linked, melee, and ranged, I guess, would be our aggressor, and he has twin Boltstorm gauntlets, and he also has a twin Power Fist. So what's interesting is that the -1 to hit essentially is baked into his Power Fist profile. So he still only hits on weapon skill 4 with his Power Fist. A point of AP has been lost, and they only have 3 attacks, which is the same as what they have right now. Obviously, some chapters can get more attacks when they charge. So 3 attacks with the same weapon skill. However, because they're twin linked, each time you make a wound roll, you can re-roll the wound. So kind of like twin linked essentially is lightning claws. However, I mean, twin linked Power Fist is going to be pretty useful. Twin linked bolters again is also pretty useful. They basically said this is to help balance. If you think of like a dreadnought that had a twin linked las cannon, at the moment it would basically just be 2 shots. So now it would be just 1 shot. They'll maybe improve its ballistic skill to compensate, and then let you reroll the wound. So they basically said they're going to try and make things more reliable rather than twice as killy. And that's probably a good thing as well, because we know that 9th edition has become crazy killy. Balance was difficult. So again, I'm all for these universal special rules. If implemented right, I think this could really herald in like the next stage of like balance between different armies in 40k, hopefully while keeping some of the complexity. And then with the last sentence of the article, they said, next up we should answer the age-old question of why shouldn't aggressors get to ride in a Land Raider. So maybe some of the silly restrictions that Space Marine players have complained about now for damn near 6 years will be gone. I think that'll be a great thing. It'll bring some of the old vehicles back to the table. It'll make some new and exciting army lists and some choices that we might not have seen before. Yeah, so leave me a comment down below. What are you thinking about these rules. Do you have anything positive or negative to say? It's really hard to draw a full picture at the moment because obviously we don't know what the Blood Angels chapter tactic will look like or exactly what Blood Angels might look like. But as soon as we do, we'll make videos. We'll cover it all. Make sure you subscribe here to keep up to date with all the content that's coming out around and focused on 10th edition. As always, I have been John. It's been awesome that you decided to stay to the end of the video. Please hit the like button before you leave, and I will catch you in the next one. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.